Hello and welcome to the Responsive Family Sleep Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Hawley, holistic sleep coach, lactation consultant, peaceful parenting educator, and mom. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by all the conflicting sleep info, frustrated with sleep information that just plain felt wrong, or searched desperately for a truly gentle and responsive sleep approach, then you are in the right place. In each episode, we'll be answering your most pressing baby and toddler sleep questions, busting those sleep myths, and helping you understand truly developmental, biologically normal baby and toddler sleep, plus encouraging you to trust your intuition along the way. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Summer from the Archives series, a time when I am re-releasing and sharing episodes from early days of the podcast with you, episodes on topics that it's really great and valuable to revisit at different points in your parenting journey. So I hope you're enjoying this little summer detour back into topics, solo topics, guest conversations that maybe you haven't heard before or haven't heard in a while. We'll be back with new episodes in September, and I'm really excited for that. So if you have anything you'd like to hear this fall, any topics you'd like covered, whether it's just me or with a guest, feel free to reach out and help me build what you most want to hear this fall and headed into 2026. So I know that's a ways away, oh my goodness. But anyway, I'm headed into this fall and winter. Let me know if there's any topics you'd like me to talk about, and enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. I am so excited. I'm actually having my first guest on the podcast, and you guys are going to love what she has to say. So today we are talking about your brain, the parental brain, and what it needs to thrive. And I have my friend and colleague, Rocio, here to share with us her expertise. Rocio, would you love to tell us a little bit about you and the sleep and parental brain work that you do?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, Kim. I didn't know I was your first.
Yes, absolutely. I was so excited. You're the first person I thought about.
Oh, so awesome. So, hello, I'm Rocio. I'm a sleep specialist like Kim. We actually met in one of our courses that we were doing, in one of our certifications. But I'm also a neuroscientist. And so from that perspective, that's how I got interested in the parental brain. Well, initially I was really interested in like neuroplasticity in general, but then I became a mom and I was like, oh, neuroplasticity and the parental brain. Because when we become mothers or fathers or caregivers, like our brain becomes very, very plastic. And so I started becoming really interested. And so I started to review the literature, and then I decided, oh, this is something I want to like share with people. So now I also, besides supporting families with sleep, I also educate them about their parental brain, and I also support professionals about it so that they can use this information in their practice as well.
Yeah, I love it. You are actually the person who introduced me to all of this knowledge, and I love it. I think it's so transformative. So tell us, what happens to the brain when you become a parent? What's happening with all that neuroplasticity and what's going on?
Yeah, so, neuroplasticity is our ability to learn, like the brain changes as we learn, it rewires. So that's the capacity we have for life. But when we become parents, it's like it becomes more, like it's more plastic, our brains. It's the most plasticity that you are gonna get in your adult life. Like your brain is very plastic when you're an infant, then again in adolescence, and then when you become a parent. And so what happens is that it becomes very plastic, and so the brain is getting ready to learn. And what I always say, so what is it that it has to learn? Well, to take care of somebody else. This somebody else is helpless, cannot talk. It needs us 24/7, and so we need to learn. And so our brain becomes like this sponge almost that is ready for this journey.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Being pregnant, that's part of how your body preps for those changes, right? Those hormonal shifts are cueing your body?
Yes. And so the brain is also getting ready during pregnancy, right? It's not just your body, it's your entire body, including your brain, starts to get ready for this.
And so if you are not the mom or the pregnant parent, what does that mean as a partner, as a non-gestational parent?
So fathers also and caregivers, same-sex couples as well, they experience brain changes as well. The studies done with pregnant women also look at fathers, and obviously they don't go through pregnancy, so their brain changes are not like
unfortunately not.
yeah. So but they start to look at the brain changes, if there were any brain changes in fathers, and what they saw is that they started very, very early, like doing early postpartum. Fathers also show brain changes.
So if you're pregnant, your body and brain are getting ready during pregnancy, and if you're not the pregnant parent, then it's happening very early in postpartum once baby is here. Is that right?
Yes.
That's so cool. Besides the sort of hormonal physical prep that happens when you're pregnant, for all parents, what supports that optimal, brain development as a new parent? What kind of things need to be in place to support that?
So, well, I don't know if you remember, I did a parental brain summit. And so
it was amazing. Yes.
Yeah. And so I brought a lot of speakers that support teach professionals, right? So that they can support parents. And pretty much like everybody was saying, the parents need community, the parents need the village, the parents need community, the parents need social relations. And I think that's a very, very important thing. One of the baseline things that we need so that the parental brain can thrive. And from there, because you are being taken care of, then that impacts your mental health, and you're ready to you're not giving from an empty space, you're not from an empty place, I mean, because one of the networks that becomes really malleable is the empathy network, right, in the parental brain. And so the empathy network is there ready to learn about the baby's cues, about really everything about the baby. But that's very hard to do. Even with all the plasticity that your brain has, it's very hard to do if your nervous system is dysregulated. And so we parent in isolation, and that's one source of nervous system dysregulation, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And so and so I think like a lot of professionals that support parents are seeing this, and you hear this message of like, we need the village, because then you are taken care of, you are giving from a full cup, you know what I mean? And then your empathy network is ready to learn. Otherwise, it's very, very hard.
Yeah, so if we nurture parents, they are then more able to show up and nurture their baby, which in turn helps their brain develop that capacity, right?
Exactly. So yeah, it's all about nurturing. It's like you nurture the baby, but you need to be nurtured too. Like you must have heard also this message that the moms need exactly the same thing that the babies need as well, the same type of care.
I love that because it fits in just what we know, thinking historically and cross-culturally, which is kind of my realm with an anthropology background. Most cultures that are not modern Western cultures do nurture new parents and don't operate with this nuclear family mentality, and do have these lovely support systems, or did, historically speaking. And so it makes sense when we dig into the neuroscience that that's actually what we need. And in many ways, like with many other things, modern culture isn't giving us that support system, or that we need to sort of thrive and have that optimal period.
Absolutely. I think, we will be doing so much better if all of us had this opportunity, to have a support system.
So I think about this with parents, and especially in the US, where we have, non-existent parental leave. And when it is existent, it does tend to be very lopsided, right? Moms have much more access to parental leave. It's changing, but moms still tend to have more access to parental leave than dads. How does time spent with baby affect this process? And if you are forced to go back to work early, are there things that you can do to help yourself with that nurture?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, actually, because there is a study showing that for fathers, so because we mothers will go through pregnancy, so a lot of this parental brain power, so it's like we get a punch from the hormones, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that as much, and so they really need to spend time with the baby, like a lot. Mm-hmm. And so then you're like, oh, they don't have parental leave. And there are not studies directly looking at what happens if the father goes to work. I don't know, but there are studies that look at what is the father's brain looking like what is his wiring, the wiring of his brain looking like. And the more hours they spend with the baby, the more wired it is. So it's very worrying when I think about these things. And when I give my course to professionals, or when I mentor parents, I try to tell them, is there any way, like during early postpartum especially, is there any way that both of you can take leave? Can you save? Can you do something? Like, I know it's not possible for everybody, but I also have come across families that they can do it if they plan, but they just don't know how important it is. They need this information.
Absolutely. So correct me if I'm wrong, the more time a non-birthing parent, a dad, is spending with their baby and in direct care, that's releasing a lot more oxytocin, right? Is that part of how the brain is getting
So in
that
this,
information?
no, in the when I'm referring to this study, I don't think they look at oxytocin, but I probably think it plays a big role, because if you're with the baby, then you do skin to skin, you release oxytocin, and we know that that's very related to how the parental brain works. So I would think that yes, oxytocin does play a role.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if you are having to go back to work, then really prioritizing both parents having as much time as you can around work schedules with baby care and baby snuggles and all that would be really important, right?
Yes. So yeah, you asked me about what to do if you can. So when you are with your baby, like really be with your baby. Try to carry your baby. And if the baby is very small, still in the in-arm stage, then maybe do skin to skin. Maybe set up an hour to do skin to skin, stuff like that. Yeah.
Question that I didn't um, run by you. How do you feel, and is there any research, and if you don't know, totally fine, but how do you feel lactation and nursing fits in with the whole adjustments that your brain is having as a nursing parent? Are people looking at that?
Yeah, there is one study, although the sample is small, that they does show that the breastfeeding moms are more responsive, and they look at their brains too. They were more active. I think the activation was higher when they were looking at their babies inside the MRI scanner. I forgot exactly I share actually this in my study, but I haven't looked at the study for a while, so I forgot the details. But yes, they have looked at breastfeeding and parental brain. Although I want to emphasize that it's a small study.
Yeah.
And also, this can bring like guilt. And so we always want to be careful when we talk about breastfeeding and all that. But what I always say is that you can feed your baby. You can breastfeed or you can bottle feed, but you can do it with love, You can do it in a way that it releases oxytocin, even though you're not breastfeeding, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Bottle nursing, I like to call it sometimes, where you
What do
get
you call it?
bottle nursing, right? You kind of get
Bottle nursing. I love that.
you get baby up against you and in a good paced bottle feeding position, but really snuggled in. If you're at home, lift your shirt, get some skin to skin, like really get that same, I don't know, dynamic and touch, and try to get as much of that sensory experience as possible. That's a
Absolutely. I'm
big
gonna
piece
be
of
using
nursing.
that now. I'm gonna be saying bottle nursing.
Yeah, I feel like, there's the milk, and the milk's important, and there's like the different, physiology of sucking between breast and bottle, but there's also just so much sensory interaction of, you know, a different dynamic with the feed, but you can totally replicate that piece with bottles.
Exactly. It's about the whole sensory experience of looking, touching, smelling, mom or dad or the caregiver, it's the whole experience. And this enriches the infant brain is so, so important.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about this, and like if someone has a difficult postpartum or has to go back to work early or something, just not, they didn't have this information, is there like a sensitive window for these brain changes, relative to when the baby was born? Or is it really a broader sense of attuning and spending time to get the brain to do what it needs to do?
So Ruth Feldman, who is have you heard of Dr. Ruth Feldman? She's
I don't think so.
okay, so she's a neuroscientist that looks at the parental brain a lot, and she, for example, studies something called biobehavioral synchrony, which is when have you heard of the term?
Yes.
So when baby and caregiver really get in synchrony and their biology gets synchronized as well as with their behavior as well. Mm-hmm. And she has looked at this. This is not directly parental brain activation, but it's part of the whole, it's part of everything. The biobehavioral synchrony is very important. And she has looked at this longitudinally, and she talks about sensitive periods, and she does say that there is a sensitive period for the development of biobehavioral synchrony during the first year of life.
Okay, so we're not talking about like the first month. We're talking about maybe the first year, as far as really being able to tap into rewiring the brain in that way.
Yeah.
I mean drawing from a related topic, right? I know the studies weren't looking exactly at that, but
exactly. Like I wouldn't say rewiring the brain. I think the brain will always, like a parental brain will rewire. I mean, we don't have all these studies that are
of course
quite necessary, but if you talk about biobehavioral synchrony, that's what she says, that yes, there is a sensitive period, and no, it's not like limited to early postpartum. It's like the whole first year.
That's fascinating. I feel like, thinking about it in terms of brain wiring, it's a little bit like we sometimes talk about with babies, right? We have that sensitive period of the first few years, but it's not like you can't rewire, later on. It's just, when are we most receptive to rewiring or wiring for the first time in the case of an infant?
Yes, exactly. So see, you're making a very good point here. We're talking sensitive periods, not critical period. When you say critical period, that means like you missed the window and you're done. No, we're talking here about getting the optimal window for things to happen. So if you miss that, it still can happen. It's just that, and Ruth Feldman says this, it will happen. It's just that it might deviate from like a bit from what is like the optimal way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So not surprisingly, it sounds like what we really need more of is nurture, right? Nurture for our littles, but nurture for us so that we can nurture our littles in that first year of parenting, but also, beyond, for us all to thrive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sort of thinking back kind of over all the things that we've touched on, do you feel like there's anything else really important that you'd want parents listening to keep in mind about supporting themselves in this sensitive period and supporting that parental brain rewiring?
Yeah. Follow your baby, look at your baby. Your baby, he or she is going to tell you what they need. It's all about that. And then also, as we were saying, take care of yourself. Although, like, I hate to put it like the responsibility on the parent, right?
I know.
But unfortunately, like, it's like we have to like be proactive about like getting help and creating our village ourselves, unfortunately. But it's necessary. So
yeah, it's like ideally our cultures would be set up still so that it structurally is in place for us, but that's not the reality of where most people are at, and that's so unfortunate, that burden does rest on us as parents when it should be interwoven into our cultural systems.
absolutely, yeah. But yeah, it's just how it is now. And, we with our work too, we hope to at least make a little bit of change towards
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Parenting in a modern world is tough. It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
Well, I absolutely love all of this information, and I'm so excited about it. Sort of as we wrap up, any final thoughts you want to share, and also tell everyone where they can find you and your work.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody just follow your baby, as I said, and also surround yourself by people that make you feel good. Also, unfollow any parenting accounts that make you feel like crap.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm saying that all the time, right? Unfollow. Don't engage. It's not helpful.
Yeah, exactly. I'm talking to moms all the time on my Instagram. Like, unfollow this person that
Yeah.
like, because like I read so and so and I feel bad. No. Go unfollow.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. And so where you can find me, just go on my website, www.newbornparents.net. And, I have a bunch of resources there for parents, for professionals too. I have a free masterclass about the parental rain for professionals. And also now I'm giving some sleep support. That might change though, but yeah, go check my website on my website, what I offer.
And you also have a lot of awesome stuff on Instagram. I share your Instagram account with some of my clients when they're trying to think about learning more in this area and just feeling more confident. Me, I am not a huge social media person. I mean, I'm on there, obviously, but it's not like my zone of genius. So I always have my little who should you be following on Instagram list I share with clients when they need help with that unfollowing and refilling their social feeds with good information. So.
Thank you so much for doing that, Kim.
You're welcome. Well, I'm so excited to have had this conversation. Thank you so much for joining.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining me today. I hope this episode left you feeling more informed, confident, and encouraged on your sleep journey. And just a reminder before you go that nothing in this episode is individualized to your specific sleep situation, nor is it to be taken as medical advice. Take what resonates, ignore what doesn't, and check with your healthcare provider about any medical concerns. Take a moment to subscribe to this podcast so that you'll never miss an episode. And take a moment to rate, review, or share an episode you love on social media. All of that helps parents just like you find me, this podcast, and this gentle and responsive sleep information. I'll see you next time.